Hello and welcome back to another episode of SHU Doing, our final episode of the season. We're closing the season out with a bang. My esteemed co-host, Paul Guarino, PG.
I love to see like what you're going to introduce me as every time. So,
I like to mix it up, keep the people guessing.
For sure.
But we have a very special guest in the house, Marquis Harper. Marquis, appreciate you joining the show.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me.
No doubt. As I said, we're closing this one out with a bang. I have seen a lot of your work. We haven't had a chance to actually talk about it. So I'm excited because obviously I know the work you've done with Golden Goals, and from seeing that from when y'all were in school, obviously being a little older than y'all, like seeing that from when y'all were in school to where y'all are at now is dope to see. So yeah, this is a good one for y'all.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's crazy to kind of the progression. You know what I mean? It doesn't really feel like it was that long ago, but when you bring it up like that, it's like, man, that was really, that was 2017. So, even with OC to see like where both of us have kind of come, it's funny because we haven't really been able to collaborate as much as we would have liked as we left SHU, but like we both kind of branched off and, we're working our way back to, getting our core company back together, but we've been able to really do a lot of great things, so it's been awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll definitely get to all of that, but let's take it to the beginning on the show. We always like to figure out for our guests why Sacred Heart.
Yeah, well, for me, I played football, so I had coach reach out, came to my school for a visit. He was like, hey, come check it out. Offered me a walk-on position there, and when I got to campus, it definitely looked a little bit different than it did today. But at the time it was still like really nice. You know what I mean? I just remember it was like a nice spring day. The campus was all green, and I was like, man, this place is nice. And I think after I was leaving, I was telling my dad, I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna go there. And so I did. I chose Sacred Heart, and I definitely would choose it again. You know what I mean? Just based off of the people that I've been able to meet, the connections made, the opportunity to play football at the Division I level, and just I have nothing but positive memories from my time being there. So.
No doubt. You were there obviously through some successful football years. You want to talk to us a little bit about those?
Yeah, I played my freshman year. So for me, throughout high school, I was on probably the worst team in the entire state of Rhode Island. We were in Division IV, which is the lowest division, and we were like last in that division. So we probably were the worst team. But to go from that to the first year, my freshman year, winning the NEC championship, and then I believe we were ranked in the top 25 that year, and then being able to play with some really awesome players. I was scout team at that point, so I was going up against these guys in practice, and guys like Gordon Hill, Preston, all those guys, JD, just really good players. And having to like go up against them every day in practice, it definitely made me better, and hopefully I was able to help them get ready for the matchups that they had. And so that was cool experience for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I feel like with any successful team, it starts with guys on scout team, because it's like you got to get these guys ready to go every week, and clearly they were ready to go. So we're doing something right.
I like to think so. You know what I mean? Hopefully that was my little contribution right there to those years. But
no doubt. Yeah. So what major did you major in when you were an undergrad?
So I was doing general communications. I think originally my what I thought my career path was going to be was I was really interested in doing sports broadcasting. I wanted to be like a sports anchor. Actually, in high school, Michael Smith, who used to work at ESPN, he was a family friend of ours. And so I had shadowed him at ESPN, and at the time he was doing like Around the Horn. So I got to kind of see that process. And I was like, man, it was so cool. He would come in, and he was the man back then. So he walked in and, everybody, it was cool, So I was like, man, I want to do that for sure. And so I kind of started out, in that's how I got into kind of media in that. But it was really to kind of do, the sports marketing track, which I know we have a really great program in the communications department and in the grad program over in Sacred Heart. So it was a great program to be in for sure.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
yeah, that's dope. So yeah, tell us a little bit about like the origin story of UNOC creating goals.
Yeah, man. So we I think it was sophomore year. We were in J Hill. I mean, I don't know if does J Hill still exist?
It does. It
Who
does.
knows?
Okay.
But now it's like third world living compared to
Yeah,
some.
that's like yeah. It's probably it's definitely on the lower end now, but I mean at the time we were in J Hill, and I think it was one of those nights where we were just kind of deep conversations, just talking about what we wanted to do in the future, and you know, we were like, man, let's make a clothing brand. Originally, that's what Golden Goals was. We were like, wanted to like make, cool T-shirts and streetwear and this and that. So we kind of stayed up all night and just wrote some ideas on paper. I mean, I think OC still has the notebook. I was actually I went and visited him not that long ago. I think he pulled it out and showed me, but
Hey,
he's got all the original notes. I mean, we were locked in. Like we were drawing sketches for T-shirts and we were up till like 3 in the morning, and that's kind of like how it started. Um, and so we never really got the merch side off the ground. But I think it was once we started to go through the years and we got into like senior year in grad school when we started picking up the camera, we kind of shifted it from like a clothing lifestyle brand to like more of like a production company. And we held on to the name Golden Goals, added productions on the end, and we started to make some content under that name.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's awesome. Like, did you ever think like all the stuff that you guys done, like you guys were just shooting like all film, I meant shoe sports and all that, and then come to find out, then you're filming like the Patriots and he's filming OKC Thunder. Like, how did that like feel to like all that came in fruition?
Yeah, I mean, it really was crazy because like you said, it was like the year before, just and so let me back up a little bit. So I really got into filmmaking and photography and videography. My graduate year was working out in like a preseason workout. I ended up breaking my leg, and so I I wasn't able to play football. And I think I had to kind of reevaluate things because I was always an athlete, so that was kind of like my identity at the time. And so once that was kind of stripped away from me, I needed to, I guess you could say, reinvent myself, and just kind of find what's next. And that's really when I locked in and started taking media and content creation really serious. So I just kind of stayed with the team, but was shooting practice on the side, helping out with the coaches doing the video. They had me up on the damn scoreboard filming practice. You know what I'm saying? It's windy, shaking up there, but just those experiences, they really helped build my resume up to the point where I did enough work on the side that I was able to put a nice portfolio together, which at the time I didn't think it was as good as it could have been. But I saw the Patriots job open up, and being from New England and Rhode Island, it would have been it was always a dream to one, play for the Patriots. As an athlete, you always are thinking you're going to go pro or whatever. But to take it a step further, and now that it's shifted, to be able to work for them and work with the team, that was a dream come true. And I was able to, like you said, go from shooting practice and shooting Sacred Heart games, and then that was 2017, 2018, we're at the Super Bowl. And so it's really it's kind of wild contrast when you look at it. But in OC2, working with OKC, he did the same thing. So we really, we were able to elevate past, I think, what both of us could have imagined at that time.
It's crazy to think about, as you say, like going from 2017 being at SHU to then being at the Super Bowl in 2018 with the Patriots. And then, I think like I remember when seeing you all do your thing from afar. And similarly, like I remember I had a conversation with OC when he was living with Carl, because Carl's obviously one of my guys. So
Yeah, yeah.
um so I went over to visit Carl, and we were talking, and I was just telling him about how I was getting reps and going out and doing things and just trying to excuse me, make sure that when the opportunity presented itself, I was ready. And I was telling him, I remember, like, respect, because I see you doing the same. Like, the work ethic is there, the drive is there, and that's how, like, the three of us, like with PG as well, started going out on shoots. But I think for me, when I stepped foot, for the first time in my first like serious job, I felt so much more confident because of that fact, because of the fact that I had, I put in that time and effort. So I wanted to ask you what that was like for you, because obviously, you go from 1 minute you're watching, Patriots to being, like, you probably went to Gillette how many times, and like, or at least watched, the Patriots however many times, that it's like all of a sudden now my heroes are people that I might see them at the coffee, at the coffee machine. Like, it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely I think coming from SHU, which it's not like I was, we were working at Bama or Clemson or one of those teams that has like a robust college media team. So I think that was a little bit of and it was definitely an adjustment, you know what I mean? Because, now we're taking what we've done and elevating it at the highest level that you can go. And it's funny because, like, at Sacred Heart, they gave us a lot of freedom to do kind of what we wanted to do. And, with that, they were kind of just happy with whatever we gave them. And so, when you're constantly putting stuff out and you're only getting positive feedback, um, you can kind of get inflated a little bit. And so I think for me, you know, anytime we did anything, it was like, oh, this is the best video we've ever had, because they didn't have anything like that at the time. And so, I'm riding that wave, and and then getting the Patriots job, kind of like, it's like, oh man, I must be really nice, and I think I was good at the time. But I think I had an overinflated sense of like what my real skill level was, because I had never really faced any challenges or feedback that were given to me in like kind of a critique way.
Mm.
So I think when I finally got there, it was a shock, because the same level that I was putting out at Sacred Heart that was being praised, they're kind of like, hey, we need to see a little bit more. And so that kind of, I had to kind of deal with that, and it only makes you better. But I think for me, that was the hardest adjustment, going from, I guess, college to pro. You know what I'm saying? And but then you kind of find your stride, and then you're able to pick it up. And like you said, it's kind of surreal. My first day of work, I walk into a press conference, and Tom Brady walks in and Bill walks in, and I'm just like, you looking at these guys like, man, you look a little bit different than you did on TV, or some people look the same, and it's like, it's kind of like that was my first moment where I was like starstruck. And then you got to quickly, when you're in that environment, you can't be a fanboy or whatever. Like, you got to be professional. So they're like, hey, cut that out. Like, we're here to work. And so, no autographs, no selfies. It's all business. And Patriots is, there's no nonsense. So I couldn't
Right.
even, can't really have my phone out like that. But yeah, those were fun times for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy too. Like Patriots were your favorite team growing up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like growing up, it's funny. I had never been to a game. It's Gillette's like probably 45 minutes from where I grew up.
Mhm.
But we just
That's
never got a chance to go to a game. I think I went to one preseason. It's free. You can just roll up. But never had the opportunity to do that as a kid. But always watched the games on TV, and supported the team and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that
that's
was
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, and I want to go back a little bit too when you're talking about Sacred Heart, and I think like we're a little older than you, but it's crazy to think like how social media and all like the content has changed, because like realistically it wasn't like out there in the 2000 like 10s of 14 when we were there. Like maybe a
Yeah.
little bit like the schools, and then the bigger schools are picking it up. So I think like that too, like Sacred Heart, just like you were saying, like anything, but also I would say I want to commend you and OC because like I think you guys got really good really quick as well. Like because I seen it,
Definitely.
like, it was still good. Like I remember like graphics that you guys made, and I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like the still graphics that you use today.
Yeah, no, it's funny too because like there was only like a few schools that were really like locked into to the graphics and
Yeah,
like the video and
like
stuff like that.
Clemson.
So yeah, like Clemson was they were fired. Like it was Bama, it was Rutgers. And it's funny because I ended up the dude Carl that worked at Rutgers. Shout out to Carl. He's with Rock Nation now. I did a he freelanced with us at Under Armour, and like he's a little bit older than me too. So I remember looking at his graphics that he was making, not knowing it was him, but just like dang, like the graphics at Rutgers were so fire, and I would take the graphic that he made and I would try to like recreate it with like our guys and like
So
put it in the same way and to have that kind of full circle moment where I like saw him and he was like, yeah, I used to do the graphics at Rutgers, and I was like, wait a minute, around what time you did the graphics? And like, we had that moment where it was like, I really used to like watch these guys, but that's kind of what you had to do back then. It was like there was only a few people that were really doing it, and they kind of laid the blueprint. And then at a place like SHU where we didn't necessarily have the infrastructure to like have a team and have a staff. They kind of gave us creative control and said, if you think you can do it, go ahead and do it. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with people in the athletic department, Coach Jones, Coach Gardner, and Coach Pat Saporito. They kind of pushed me to like do some of those things for them, and were really supportive of me. And even after I left and was with the Patriots, I still had an opportunity to design a few um uh what is it, schedule posters and things like that, and did some graphics for them on the side, just to continue to sharpen the skills. So I think without having that opportunity, because a lot of places they don't, it might not be as easy to do that. So
yeah.
it was cool definitely having that opportunity here.
So I kind of want to, because you touched on it a little bit. So can you first just go ahead and tell us like what your role was at the Patriots and then how you pivoted that to your current role now at Under Armour? Because you did touch on it a little bit. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so when I went to the Patriots, I think my title was social media content creator. And again, social media in 2018 is not like it was today. So we were kind of just, you know, the team at the Patriots was just being built out when I was hired. Like I was one of the first people to be, hired in that capacity there. So again, it was kind of like uncharted territory. But we were looking at other teams in the league that had strong social teams, and we were kind of trying to figure out where we fit in that space. And then there being like social heavy, I was really doing a lot of editing. Not so much graphics. They kind of had a graphic designer, but I still tried to do some things on the side while I was there. But I didn't really start shooting a lot until my second year, when I was able to kind of shoot a lot of the games on the sidelines, and that was an awesome opportunity to kind of get better at shooting football and just experiencing the game from the sideline. Um, and those were probably my favorite memories of working at the Patriots. I think one thing I will say is it's definitely a grind at that level. Even at the college level now, like that social media and content creation for college athletics is like really building up. You end up doing a lot of work, and you got to put in a lot of hours, and it really, especially when you're focused on one team, like your whole life revolves around that team. And I think for me, it started to become a little bit too much. Just we had just had our first son, and so it was like time was more valuable there. And I was trying to figure out how I can still chase that passion and dream, but like not get burnt out. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where in the midst of all that, COVID happens, right? So it's 2020, And now we're not in the office, have a little bit more time to look and see what else is out there. And I came across a Under Armour position that had opened up, and this was April 2020, so I applied to it. Applied to a few other jobs, didn't hear anything back, and then it was like July of 2020. I get an email from UA, and they're like, "Hey, we saw your application. We'd like to interview you." And I forgot about it, honestly. But it ended up, working out, and I was able to kind of pivot into my new role here at Under Armour, where it's definitely more marketing and content driven as opposed to social driven. I do work really closely with the social team here at Under Armour. But instead of working on like solely team specific things, now I'm working on product specific things. Got to work with athletes and different things like that. So it's definitely a different role, but I'm really excited with the things that I've been able to do at Under Armour. And so it's definitely been, I would say, a positive change.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
dope.
And then like content wise, like what's some differences between working for like a team and then working for like a brand?
So I think the team, it's definitely it's that's a good question, man. Working for the brand, I feel like the brand it encompasses more than just football, right? So when you're working for a team, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, like you're focused on one sport, and so you're a lot of times you're kind of boxed into like what you can do creatively, in my opinion, just because you're focused solely on one thing. But working for the brand, I feel like has been cool because instead of just focusing on football, although I love football, I've been able to do some things with basketball, been able to do some things with soccer, baseball, just running, training, and so you kind of get a little piece of a lot of different things. And then with the brand, it's like you got to think about things differently through looking at different products, and then there's different athletes that you can work with. So I feel like with the brand, there's just more options, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to know about, because obviously in all of your roles, you've had to be very creative and you've learned a lot of lessons at a lot of different places. So I kind of want to hear any stories you may have of times where you had to get creative in the field, because where maybe, for example, a light, went out and all of a sudden now you don't have proper lighting, but now you got to pivot and figure something else out. But you know how it goes. You can
Yeah.
prepare for a shoot for weeks, months, years, and something is going to come up that's unexpected. And it's about how you pivot in those moments. And obviously, being a creator at the places that you have been, you have to be on your game. So any stories you could share with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think our team has kind of been known to be very scrappy, very nimble, if you will. So, that's kind of an everyday thing for us. And I think when you're on the go and running gun, and that's kind of like how we shoot as a team, you have to kind of be able to pivot. And an example of that, it just happened literally last weekend. I was down in IMG Academy shooting the Kelsey Plum basketball camp, and we had to do an interview with Kelsey, where she was talking about some of her PE footwear that one of the designers had on site. And we know the interview is tomorrow, so we get in. We're supposed to have a seamless backdrop, the rod, the whole thing is supposed to be in there. We're just going into the hotel, setting it up in the conference room. So we check in, and I can see the seamless right there, and I'm like, okay, we got the seamless. I'm thinking the rest of the equipment's in the room. So I get in the room, and I'm not seeing like the stands. And so we're kind of like, all right, what are we gonna do? We've got this background, but like we have nothing to hang it on. There's no rod or anything like that. So we had to figure something out, and had to go to Home Depot, grab a pole. They had like a backdrop already in there that was like, it's like I don't even know what you would call it, but basically we had to like put this pole on top of this thing, clamp it to this thing, and make sure it didn't fall over, and then roll the thing out. And then the first time we did it, the paper got messed up or something like that, so we had to rip it, and then we had to roll it again, and then the background wasn't high enough, so we had to like put boxes underneath and prop it up. And long story short, we got it to stay still. It didn't blow over. We shot it. No, she walked in, and I'm like, she's gonna notice that it's not like a real set. Like it looks like to a media person, you'd be like, what the hell are these guys doing in here? Like they're just messing around. But like, she walked in, just sat down. We did the interview. It was great, and she left. And we're just like, did we just pull that off? Like, like that? And it was seamless. You know what I mean? So, and I think when you're put in those kind of situations and you have to think on your feet all the time, it ends up being almost second nature. It's kind of like, okay, you kind of expect something to go wrong. You don't want to go into somewhere thinking that everything's going to be how you scripted it out. You got to kind of be ready to adapt and pivot depending on what comes up, because things always come up.
That's a great lesson.
For sure. What advice would you give to a young creator?
Oh man. I would just say keep shooting. Shoot whatever you can, whether it's, your cousin's minor league game or little league game, or, if you got high school or if you got colleges that you can go to, just shoot and create and constantly elevate. And, I think the more you're able to create, the better you'll be at doing it. You know what I mean? The more reps you get, it's like, what is it? The 10,000 hours, or is that,
Definitely. Yeah.
I think the more you do anything, the better you're going to be at, doing it. So I think for us, like starting out, I was trying to shoot anything I could, whether it was guys at SHU, DMing guys, like when I was doing the graphics, like, yo, let me make you a commitment edit. And then we started to kind of build that out. And, even today, like I still do a ton of freelance work. Because another thing too, when you're locked into the brand and you have like a hierarchy, sometimes you can't just be like, I want to do this. And, they'll be like, all right, well, the VP wants to do this, so we got to do this. And so,
Right.
when you have that outlet where you can go do a freelance job and they're saying, hey, like, what do you think? What do you think we should do? It kind of gives you an outlet to be more creative. So even if you have a job, still, put in the work, because it's only going to make you better in your main job. Or, sometimes people have been able to leave their main job and go do the side job, and I mean, I think ultimately that's the goal, is like, to work for yourself. So
100%. That's real.
yeah.
That you have dropped plenty of gems right here for our last episode. We love it. But before we get out of here, we have a section or segment that PG likes to call Fun Shoe. We're still working on a name. Maybe for season 2, you can help us, come up with a proper name. So PG, go ahead and take it away.
All right. So, what was your favorite dorm room?
Dorm room. I mean, it was definitely Jay Hill, because at the time Jay Hill was like the nicest spot.
If you know, you know.
The nicest.
Yeah, it was
not North. I'm team North.
Nah. Jay Hill was better.
All right, favorite dining hall or like food there?
Dang, man. I still dream about the freaking Chipotle mayo sauce that used to go on the burger. I don't know if they still do it. And what was the dude's name that used to? Yeah, no, not Lynn. Yes, Linda's. Yeah. What was the dude's name that would be on the burgers?
Oh, Will.
Yeah, Will was hooking up.
Shout out to Will.
Will is I
don't
don't know
even
if
remember
Will's
how I
still there,
remember that.
That's crazy. That's a blast from the past.
For real. Like, he used to be back there. He'd be like, yo, what you want? You want I'd be like, yo, let me get the double, put the egg on it, put the Chipotle mayo, and that thing would come out, and like, every time the semester started, the burger was this big, and like, it was better than Five Guys, better than Johnny Rockets, better than any burger that you could get. And like, bro, I would get one of those, and you get that, and you eat that, and you go right to sleep. Literally.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I forgot who we had on that graduated recently, and they were telling us some other foods that definitely weren't there when we weren't there. I mean, when we were there, and I was like, "Yo, what is it?" We were like, "What?" Even when we had the diner there when you were there, or not yet?
Yeah, no. So the diner was like the last year. because the diner was cool too. Like I can't remember what I got in there, but it didn't hit the same,
Yeah.
but it was yeah, Linda's was nothing was really beating that. Because then you could get the wraps too. Like they made like sandwich wraps and stuff. Like they had the deli section. Dang,
You get the
man.
burger wrap?
I need to go back there. Did I do that? Nah, because I would get like a turkey or something like that, and they had the chips, like the kettle chips. You just like dump them on the plate. Yeah.
All right, this is a new
That
one.
was
I've never asked it yet. I don't think. Who was your favorite professor?
Favorite professor. I would have to say it's probably a tie between Professor Miller and Professor Paps. I think it's funny because I used to enjoy like Professor Miller's classes, but I don't know what it was. I think it was just because of like football. And you can ask OC this and like maybe Mustafa or something if they go up. But like we used to be in the class, and it would be like right after practice, and I would go in like I'm not gonna fall asleep in this class. In every class, like I'm pretty sure I fell asleep, and I feel so bad about it. Professor Miller, if you are watching this, I apologize. But he had good. I mean, I think we would watch movies and talk about them, and that was and Professor Miller's just a cool guy. And I just enjoyed he always had some insights to like the industry. Same with Professor Pabst. I think his class was cool. I mean Thorne too. Professor Thorne was cool. All those guys. Really in the graduate program. Those were some of my favorite classes. So I appreciate all of them.
No,
Yeah,
for
for sure.
sure.
We've been trying to get Thorne on because I think he's like, obviously besides the younger kids, but he's like the only one that's a alum and a professor.
Oh dang! Did he go there too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so that's why
fire.
we got to get him on, but he's never around. But season 2,
Yeah.
It's covered. It's funny you say that about the falling asleep because I had a class where it was history of film. I can't remember my professor's name. I apologize to him as well, but I had it right after practice. Right after practice. You've been running around for 2 hours. Like, I'm sorry. You like run and eat something quick right before you go to class, and then you go to class. And it's like I remember the classroom was in a room with no windows, and we would watch these 2-hour like silent films. And I would just for the life of me, I mean, like it didn't matter what I brought with me. Red Bull, coffee. I was knocked. At some point in that class, I had to knock out. Not intentionally. I apologize, but it was just physically I was spent. Like,
Yeah.
But
No, I feel you.
and
that's
actually,
why I started cracking up when you said that the way you said it, because I was like, I know that feeling. Like you're walking in there, the day is the day. Like I'm making it the whole time. And then next thing you know, you wake up and you're like,
you wake up, the lights cut on, and it's like, all right, yeah, and you're just like, dang.
All right, I gotta try again next time.
Yeah, for real.
For sure.
But thank you, Marquis.
Before we wrap, though, also, Marquis, I got to tell you. So actually, the 2 out of the 3 interns that we have working on the show and helping us out. Well, shout out to all of them, anyways. Anthony, Jules, and Jake. 2 of them came from OC's class. So how full circle and crazy is that?
Oh yeah. No, it's funny too because he's a professor now. He hit me up the other day. He was like, "Yo, what should I do for my my final for the students?" I was like, "Bro, what? Like, this is wild, you know." But it's cool though because like again, you have these professors who like actually work in the industry and have like real practical knowledge. So like I was like, man, like I would love to do that too. That's so dope to be able to like share what you learned and you know what I mean? It's like giving back to the next group, but like, man, it's hilarious. Like, I wish I could sit in on his class. Like, I know it would be the funniest thing I ever watched, but I'm sure he's dropping gems too there,
Definitely. But yeah, as I said, this has been one phenomenal episode to end with. Marquis, we appreciate your time. If you all have been rocking with us through this entire season, we appreciate you. We will see y'all in season 2.